The insane transportation of a 17-ton magnet. Hello and welcome back to Curiosity Lounge. Before we start, hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Okay, so here's a big challenge for your brain. Let's say that you're here in the town of Brookhaven in the middle of Long Island and for whatever reason, you've got a 17-ton magnet that's 50 feet wide and your job is to transport that monstrosity halfway across America to Chicago way over in Illinois. How would you go about doing it? Well, if you type out the route in Google Maps, you'll see that the drive is somewhere between 14 and 15 hours long. But there's a really big problem that you'll immediately notice. Transporting a 50-foot wide magnet down the suburban roads of Long Island may be difficult, but it probably becomes just about impossible when you start getting into New York City. The quickest route takes you through Queens, the Bronx, and even over the northern edge of Manhattan, while moving across two bridges, and specifically this bridge right here. The Throgs Neck Bridge only has a maximum vehicle width of 15 feet, so our 50 feet wide magnet just isn't going to make it through that leaves. Very few alternative options, and these are just some of the many logistical challenges that a team of movers had to actually consider back in 2013, when this became one of the most complicated delivery operations ever attempted in the history of the US. The customer who was wanting the magnet was a physics lab named Fermilab, just outside the Batavia, Illinois, near Chicago, and they wanted it to run some of their own experiments on a particle called muons. Of course, they could have just built their own magnet, but that probably would have ended up costing them around $30 million. And luckily for them, there happened to be another lab over in Brookhaven that had built the exact magnet that they needed back in the early 1990s, and it had been sitting dormant collecting dust and doing totally nothing for the past decade. So in theory, if they could manage to transport that magnet from Brookhaven over to their lab in Batavia for less than $30 million, well, they'd come out ahead and save some money. The stage was all set, but moving a giant magnet halfway across the country came with numerous complications of its own, like whether to drive it, fly it, or ship it on a boat, regardless of whichever option they chose in order to transport the magnet. The movers would have to be extraordinarily careful, because even the slightest twisting or flexing of the inner coils inside of the magnet would, even a few millimeters, would have been enough to cause severe damage, which would have ruined the magnet forever and basically wasted the entire effort. In moving it for these reasons, both FedEx and UPS refused to help out with the move transporting the magnet directly across the land. The entire way was ruled to be too risky and too inefficient, while transporting it in a plane was ruled to be too expensive and also pretty risky. That left transporting it by ship. And so after a lot of intense planning sessions, lots of doubt, and with the support of all kinds of agencies and specialty moving companies, the final moving plan was eventually set into motion on the morning of the 22nd of June 2013. At first, the ring was carefully moved out of its old laboratory site in Brookhaven and loaded onto a specially adapted flatbed truck. At the same time, the movers attached a 45-ton special metal apparatus to it to keep the magnet as flat as possible and to protect it from any damage from there. The flatbed truck carried it very slowly along the highway to the nearby Smith Point Marina, where it was then loaded up onto a waiting barge by a ludicrously massive crane. And from there, the barge spent about a month at sea carrying the magnet all the way down the east coast, around the tip of Florida, across the Gulf of Mexico, and then towards Mobile, Alabama, and as ships have done in North America for centuries. The barge entered the Mobile River and sailed it all the way up towards the main path of the Mississippi River, and then sailed that all the way up to the Illinois and Des Plaines rivers, before finally arriving at the port of Lamont, Illinois, which is incredibly only a 37-minute drive away from the Fermilab complex over in Batavia, by simply carrying the magnet on a truck for a few miles in Long Island, and then transporting it on a barge from there. The team had managed to get the magnets nearly the entire way. After only about a month from here, another ludicrously massive crane took the magnet off of the barge and onto another specially adapted flatbed truck. While under normal circumstances, it does only take 37 minutes to get from the port to the research lab. The truck drove the magnet at a snail's pace, and it took more than 3 consecutive nights of driving, all to travel a distance of just 32 miles. That is an average pace of just 10 miles a day. And so they had used trucks to drive the magnet the entire distance over land. It would have probably taken them at least 90 days to accomplish. Instead, the whole journey only took the team 35 days to pull off. Over an adventure by land and sea across more than 3,200 miles, finishing at the end with a more than 3,000-person party to celebrate the giant magnet's newfound home and successful trip. The magnet was eventually installed within the new lab in 2016, and it became operational once again in 2017. After nearly 16 years of remaining totally dormant and the new data taken just this year from the magnet is already indicating that there is compelling evidence of brand new physics yet to be discovered. It is challenging scientists and researchers across the world to come up with bold new theories, and it's pushing our society to even greater heights. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.